So what do we have here on the slide? We already went through a lot of the pieces. Yeah, I think we already covered everything. So quite interesting here from the technological deployment, let's say, of these contracts is you either have a address mapped to amounts, that is ERC20, right? Or you have specific token IDs mapped to addresses. That kind of also makes sense, right? With fungible tokens, you can have these fungible tokens here. This is one particular security, for example, and there's 10 amounts, and then you can wrap these. Oh, no, I'm sorry, I completely described it incorrectly here. This ERC20 token is one token, right? You can have different varieties of different tokens here, also in that one smart contract. However, this is basically one ERC20 fungible token here. You have various different addresses. So for example, my address, your address, and I own 10, you own 5, Sarah owns 20, right? Of that particular token, of that security, which is fully fungible. And last but not least here, ERC 721, that is one asset here. And it has the token ID 0. This is just an example, obviously, right? Or one. Sorry?
Just to let you know, we can't see a cursor.
Oh, you can't see the cursor. That's I always refer to the cursor. Do we have a?
Yeah.
Thank you for the hint. No. And I will confirm it again. Yeah, there was a question.
Yeah. So how can you link those two smart contracts at the end? So how can I say, for example, my specific non-fungible token has a value of 20 ETH? So you can basically refer that as a.
You cannot do this. So this is always a market price there. You cannot say my Shiba Inu that I created or Shiba Dogo will have the price of 20 ETH. This is not possible. There is always a market mechanism.
So it happens only on the exchange itself, right? On the market.
Those that want to buy your token, they will buy it for a specific price. It's a market mechanism. All right, good. Now that was the difference between fungible and non-fungible tokens. And now here just a couple of examples, right? This is all part of the NFT hype. Now, I hope you have not bought some Bored Apes for $50 million US. I mean, I don't know. I even have the numbers here. Yeah, Sotheby's in September 21 has sold a Bored Ape for $24.4 million US. So it was a collection of Bored Apes. So each ape has a value of $241,500. The most expensive ape picture was sold for $2.25 million US. That's at least the numbers that I collected, I think, a year ago or so, but I'm quite sure that the prices have fallen ever since. And also here, CryptoPunks, there are roughly 10,000 CryptoPunks, and they can individually be sold as NFTs. And the most expensive CryptoPunk, 7523, of these 10,000, so 7,523, it was sold June 21 by Sotheby's for $11.6 million US. So somebody really, and this is ludicrous, I mean, to be honest, yeah? Somebody really bought this pixel thingy here for $11 million. And I saw a tweet a couple of days ago that I think also these CryptoPunks have come down like 99% or so. First tweet, there's also an exciting story here. The first tweet, Jack Dorsey sold his first tweet. So at the bottom left, and they sold it. It was tweeted in 2006, just setting up my Twitter. He sold it in 21 for $2.9 million US, and I think it was traded now for 200 euros, $200. So, and it's gone. But also quite interesting stuff. So, for example, the source code of the World Wide Web was tokenized. And that is something that I find then interesting again, right? Because this is true history. So Tim Berners-Lee, yeah. The World Wide Web source code that he wrote in 1990, I think it was in CERN in Switzerland. He sold it for $5.4 million US, roughly 10,000 rows of code. So quite some interesting stuff. And the most expensive one was ultimately here, this People's First 5,000 Days. And by that, I do have to admit that I find it very, very interesting and very impressive what he has done here. It's basically digital images. So it's digital art. And he has done that over 5,000 days. Now imagine the year has 365 days, right? Did that for 5,000 days consecutive. And then combined all these high resolution pictures into one gigantic pictures. So there are 5,000 pictures in that gigantic picture. So that is a tremendous piece of art. And that was sold for 70 million. So I think that was the most expensive piece of art as sold as an NFT.
Sorry for the question, but this might be obvious to other people in here, but I have a legal background and I'm really struggling to get my head around how one can sell tweet. Because even if it's tokenized, legally speaking, I can only sell something to which I have ownership rights. But even if I tokenize the tweet through whichever means, the tweet is something in the ecosystem of Twitter, which is, to my knowledge, a closed source system. So technically, it will always belong to Twitter. So unless I have permission from Twitter to sell that tweet.
You are spot on. This does not exist. There is no legal framework for that so far. So, and it's also very, very relevant when you think about where these pictures that you can buy. So, for example, if I now buy this pizza eating monkey here, or also this crypto kitties, where's that picture actually hosted? So is that hosted on your local machine? How can you control that there is not a copy on any other local machine? Because that is the internet as we know. It's an internet of copies. It's an internet of information. You can easily do a copy and then you have the same information, right? With blockchain, it's possible to transfer value, right? And so that is basically the core concept, not only transferring copies, but transferring value, and that it must be ensured that there's no double spend or no copying of that particular value. But from a legal perspective, this is completely not clear yet. There is no regulation. So when you have that NFT on that particular Bored Ape or also the tweet, what you actually have is a record of represent to the world and say, I'm the owner, but in front of the court, I doubt that you will be the real owner. So it's still in its infancy, right? The concept is powerful, and obviously the regulators also have to adjust to that new technology, which turns everything upside down because this so far was not possible, and it did not exist so far, right? But coming back, before I take your question, also to the question where these pictures are hosted. For example, with CryptoKitties, I think it was CryptoKitties, they were hosted on a closed server of the issuers of these CryptoKitties. So if that server went down, you wouldn't have anything because the original graphic was stored only there. There are other concepts. I think CryptoPunks store their images on a worldwide drive. I don't know how it works. I don't know how it's called.
IPFS.
Huh?
It's IPFS.
IPFS, yeah, exactly, yeah. So it's like a worldwide, how is it, worldwide server?
I think it's called, interplanetary file system. It's like kind of a cloud that has no real IP, and you just have coordinates where the specific image is hosted, and in the link you are putting into the smart contract for the NFT, you just say where the coordinates are, and it's, I think, also replicating itself. So there is no single machine where these images are stored or these files are stored at. Yeah. It's like kind of redundant.
So much better system than having the JPEG of that kitty stored on my computer. But funny name, interplanetary system, right? So part of the cloud is run on Mars, then I suppose.